Hello, Black beautiful women. It is day 2 of the summit, December 2nd. I am so very happy that you're still rocking with us. I brought the experts in the house today, okay? We are going to talk about women's leadership development, and I couldn't think of any better people to share this stage with, honestly. We have June, who's done extensive research on this topic. We have Latoya that has crushed it in several lanes, leading women in a variety of ways. And we have Victoria from the UK, who has some honors flashed across her chest right now that she'll unpack for you today as well. So I'm gonna dive in and allow them to introduce themselves. June, we'll start with you. Can you share a bit of your background with us?
Okay. Well, first, I am so honored to be a part of this and to share this panel with the other participants here. So thank you for that. So a little bit about myself. For the last several years now, I have been just kind of playing around in the field of leadership, right? Toying around with that. So I've kind of served in areas like CEO, chair of the board, director of operations, all kinds of things like that. And so, that's my background there. I currently, well, that's not all of my background, lady. I'll go into it a little bit more, but I currently serve in the nonprofit sector, right? So I run a nonprofit organization for women. And so it's Women Who Matter Too, TOO. And, from my background in all those executive leadership positions, I kind of understood that there is a need for women to become more developed in the skills and leadership insights that we have. And so we just focus on developing women from an internal perspective. That's what we do. That's what I do now. I am a fun-loving person, let me tell you that. I love travel, a little bit about my background. I love people, I really do. And I love simple things. And those, I love family, I love God. Those things are important to what has caused me to have a level of success. Now that word is so relative, but in your leadership, in my background. So that's a little bit about myself. I want to introduce myself. I'm sure during the discussion, a little bit more of that will come out, but that's me, June Chambliss, a little bit about my background.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, June. I cannot wait to hear all of the gems that you're going to drop. And I love that you said that success is a relative word. That is so powerful, right, to say at the onset of this. So everyone, please keep that in mind as you hear these stories and these perspectives. Like, it does not need to mirror what we've done, right? They're going to tell you how to define leadership for yourself and success for yourself. Beautiful. I love it. Toya, we'll kick it over to you next. Can you please share a bit about your background?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Casey, for having me here. And I want to also honor my fellow panelists, Miss June and Victoria as well. You ladies look amazing, and I'm excited to get to know more about you as well. My name is Latoya Dixon Smith. I am an engineer turned boudoir photographer, sex doula, and business coach. And I lead with that because it tells you a little bit about my journey, but not all of it. As June stated, there's so much behind what each of us brings to the world that it's very hard to just capture it in just a statement or, a few sentences. But I just know that my path was one that is a bit unconventional. And I think it was that way by design. God knew what he was doing when he placed me where he placed me, when he placed me there. But I came from a background thinking that I was going to go that route where I was going to climb the corporate ladder and have that corner office and, all these things. In 5 years into my career as an engineer, I was laid off from my job, and I was part-time doing photography. And when I came to that decision point, I chose to go full-time in my business. And that just opened so many other doors for me. And I'm just so grateful because my definition of leadership has certainly changed over the years because of my own experience. And I would say, and this is not part of the question, but leadership for me has presented itself in just honoring your own path and what you are being called to do based on, where you allow yourself to share your gifts, share your talents, and express yourself in the ways that are very genuine and authentic to who you truly are at your core. And so I'm just happy to be on this panel today to share a little bit about my journey, talk about what leadership looks like specifically in my everyday life. I'm also a wife and a mom of 2 beautiful kids, and very, present in the community and creating communities of my own. But that's a little bit about me, and I look forward to getting into the discussion today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Toya. And I just have to say, Toya has always been the smartest woman I know. She was my roommate in college and just blew my mind then, and she continues to do so today. So thank you for being an example for me to follow, Toya. Beautiful. So Victoria, I'm going to throw the ball all the way to London so that you can tell us a bit about your background.
Mm-hmm. Hi, yes, my name is Victoria Lukungu Rudolph. And yeah, as Casey said, I am in London, born and bred in London, but my family come from Angola and America. I am an assistant vice president in Citibank. I've been working in banking, I think, since graduation, but I also have my own business because, like the other ladies, I kind of wanted to control my own financial freedom, my own destiny, and to have that control within my own business is something that I've always wanted. It's a small business, it's starting, it's early days, but that's how things progress. I also sit on the board for a theatre charity where we try to help the local community through theatrical arts and boosting different diversity and cultural stories on stage. So I'm on the board of that charity, which is a big part of, I suppose, my leadership qualities and what I do. Also, wherever I've worked, I've tried to set up diversity and inclusion committees. So in Barclays, I started it, in Mitsubishi, and now I work in Citibank, because I was always looking for that female or that Black leader that I could kind of admire and follow and emulate as a junior person. And it's not a diverse place to work. And I just wanted to be able to create that space for people and also for myself. As I progress, I want to know if there is a career path. So I've always wanted to make that change. And being in the room means you can make a change in the room. So I've always taken the opportunity to do that. My most recent challenge, I suppose, I always like to challenge myself, has been the pageant industry. As you can see, I'm wearing my sash, I'm wearing my crown. So this year I've started doing pageantry. Earlier this year I won the title of Miss Elegance International UK, and only last night, thank you very much, only last night I was running with Miss Africa Great Britain, because like I said, I am Angolan, I'm Black American. I'm very proud of that. Regardless of being born in the UK, that's a big part of who I am, my culture, my language, my heritage. So I really wanted to be part of an African pageant. And last night I met a great group of girls. We've been training for many months, but last night was the night, the show, where we could all celebrate our culture and teach the crowd a little bit about our heritage, our history. And I was, proud enough to win the title of Miss Talent and place top 5 and be given an accolade for the fact that I love my culture. I love leading, I love representing my culture, whether it be in work, whether it be on stage or with my friends, because that's who I am. And I do want to be a good representation of who it is, to be me. And yeah, I think I will keep pushing myself and taking opportunities to be a leader, to be a representative throughout my career, and beyond my career as well, in my personal work and my connections. And I'm really looking forward to having more connections after this with the ladies on the line. So I'm very excited to get started, and thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
You are so welcome, and congratulations on your very fresh win. I can see your face beaming, and your voice is so important, Victoria. So I went into corporate America in the finance industry as well, and to your point, there was never any other Black woman on the deal teams, right? So I have all of this knowledge, but there was nobody else who looked like me gaining it as well, right? So I took it to the streets, right? So I love that you are taking that a step further and saying, I'm in this room, so I'm creating space, but also I have to bring my village with me. I am Anglo-American, I am African, I am UK born and bred. That piece is so phenomenal. And I think, being raised in the US, like sometimes we get it later, like I came to Africa because I'm looking for that piece, but I think it's powerful that you're leading with that, right? Because you're creating space for people like me who desire to do the same. Beautiful, I love it so much. So let's dive in a little more to your journey, June. You've done some extensive research on leadership, particularly as it relates to women. And based on your work, I'd love to hear what you feel the areas that we're excelling in as women, but also the areas where you think we could use some work.
Yeah. So it is correct. I am a researcher and I do academic research. And so I love the work. I study female leadership, right? That's where the research lies. And that is such a good question and or statement, because there are areas these few years, women, we are excelling, right? We are moving forward and we have a lot of things to be proud of, okay? But one of the areas, I know a lot of times we get into the skills thing and this, but women are really excelling in the area of bravery. I want to say that. I'm going to talk about a few things, but we are really excelling in the area of bravery, because still in this day and this age, we're still confronted with some of the challenges that have just we've had for several decades, right? They're hidden, they're not as blatant. And so we yet have those challenges that we have to overcome just for being female. So we are really excelling, we're stepping out, we're coming forth in the area of bravery. And I love to point that out because it's worthy of being applauded. We also are excelling in the area of skills development. That is important because, you have people that say, take your place at the table, come to the table, you deserve it. But I always come behind that and say, you'll never get to the table if you are not developing yourself. So we're moving forward in our skills development. And I really want to point that out for a lot of my global sisters, right? That's where I'm seeing it so often, and all across the globe where we are developing ourselves and our skills, our education, all of that. So we're moving forward there, but we still have our challenges. And so some of the areas that we can improve on and really come together as women is, we're still, especially for some of the young entrepreneurs, right? Or young leaders, new leaders who are new to the field. We are still trying to chug through that area of collaboration, right? We're yet learning that we are truly a village. It was never meant to do this thing alone, right? You cannot really be successful on an island by yourself. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Because in the world of female leadership, because we've had so many challenges, it's just been difficult to understand that there's enough room for all of us. And so I want to make the difference between networking and collaborating, right? There is a difference. Networking, yeah, you know, we know that whole thing. We got to meet you. Maybe I can use you over here. Maybe you can use me over here. But collaboration is an understanding that I need you to get to where I'm going, and you need me. And we are still struggling in that area when it comes to leadership. And I like to say this: if we take a look around, if we pay attention, ladies, us, we're really the next one. We are getting ready to bring this thing home. Whatever this thing is, women are it. We're it. And so, you know, we really have moved the needle. We are really moving forward. But we will do ourselves a favor. Much like Casey, I love what you're doing with Blaze, right? I love what you're doing because we need one another to get there. So that's the area I thought I'd point out. You know, if we can understand collaboration, it is not networking, it is understanding the need. I need my sister. I need to support her. I need to push her along. I can't feel this internal thing of my own issue. I can't try to hog it myself. I can't try to get there before you. Whenever I get there because it's not all about the competition, but I need to push my sister along. If I get an opportunity, I need to do that. I need to bring others in. So that's where we are. We're moving ahead. I'm proud of us. You know, all across the globe, we're doing major things now, but we still need, you know, we need that. One of the things that's happening as far back or as recent as 2017, it's already shown that women, we are the fastest growing group of leaders in the nonprofit sector as high level positions, director, CEO, all of that. We're the fastest growing group to take over that sector, but we're not the fastest growing group as far as leading at the highest level, because we haven't figured that out yet. So anyways, that's what I have to say on that. And I think, but I think we're going to get there. I really do. I think we're going to get there. What you're doing is an example, Casey, of this very thought. I mean, you're all about pushing your sisters along, and that is what we need. That's where we need to really do some work.
Thank you, June. And you're in a vein. I mean, emotionally, that struck some things for me, because at least from what I can tell, right, in my 31 years of living, is that we have to heal some things, right, to get to that point, right? Like, it is a matter of survival in our minds a lot of times, right? Like when I was still in corporate America, like Victoria's talking about, I went to DC and I talked to a group of college sophomores. So these girls are 19 years old, and they were so comfortable with me because I'm the only Black person in the room, and you know, all of them are non-white, but I'm the only Black person sitting in front of them. And they said, Casey, when I hear about these internship opportunities, I don't tell my friends. And I was like, why? I already knew why though, right? I said, why? They said, because I want to get the position. And I said, oh, so do you think 6 white boys can be hired? They said,
Okay.
yeah. They're like, yeah, of course. And that's true, right? I said, oh, okay. Do you think 3 white girls can be hired? Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I said, oh, but six Latina girls? They said, oh no, oh, 7 Black, but they were right? The sad thing is that they were right. So we've been conditioned to try to aim for the one spot that's for Black women in the position, right? And when we get into entrepreneurship, we got to heal some things, right? We have to know that like in the clients that we want to serve, it doesn't have to just be us. Like there's actually enough room for everybody to make, create, protect space, right? So I think you're in a vein, June, and what I hope to do in this stuff, because I'm learning myself, is to heal some things. Like it's trauma induced, a lot of this stuff, and we're trying to survive, right? So thank you for being honest about that. I agree 100%. I'll say this last thing too. When I first entered entrepreneurship, I had a quick conversation with Google about a summit I was thinking about. And this is before I even it came, and they said, oh yeah, this will add so much scale. And I just wanted them to give money. I'm like, what do you mean scale? And they're like, we can teach the workshops. Like, you don't have to teach all of the workshops. I'm like, I don't. And they're like, no, but like, if like this thing is so foreign to us, right? So now, I mean, instead of them doing it on top, I'm letting, Black women, right, show up in the space. But yeah, it's gonna take some work and some intentionality. I agree 100%. Victoria, I'm gonna come over to you. So I'd love for you to tell us some of the tools. It sounds like you're in a lot of different settings, right? With your nonprofit work, with your corporate work, with your pageant work. What have been some of the tools and approaches that you've used to develop yourself as a leader from any of these settings?
Yeah. So some of the tools, I never knew they were tools until I used them and then I saw the results. The way I saw it was just taking challenges and opportunities and putting yourself in a scenario that I haven't been before and people around me haven't been as well. So I can't learn from them, it's learning by doing. I think the earliest challenge I remember doing was the first time I left the UK. So we weren't raised very wealthy. We didn't go on family holidays. We didn't have, I just never experienced travel, and I got my passport and I wanted to go somewhere, but I didn't have any money. But then I found this scheme or course, if you want to volunteer abroad, and then you'll get accommodation and you'll get room and board. So I applied. It was a teaching role in Thailand where I taught English. And I said, I'm not a teacher, but I speak English. So I think I can do it. Let me try, let me see if it works. It was through my university. I was very nervous to apply, but I wanted to travel, I want to see the world, things that my friends have done. Because at university, I met a whole group of other types of people who went on family vacation, people who have summer homes abroad. So let me see a little bit of their world, but do it through a way that's affordable and also useful. So I was living in a village in the middle of Thailand, in a town where they kept repeatedly telling me, we've never seen a Black girl before. Oh, you're so dark. Oh, your hair. Oh my God. Every day kind of having to be reminded that I'm different and I am somewhere different and I'm representing someone different. And I was teaching English. And so, I'm coming there with my skill, the skill I've been developing for 20-something years, apparently. And I meant to lead a class of, cute, like beautiful children. They're between the ages of 9 to 15. And I was only 19. And I look very young. Right now, I'm almost 30 right now, but I look young. So imagine me.
Yeah.
So imagine me at 19. I was looking like a little 12-year-old trying to teach 12-year-olds. So that was obviously a leadership role, and having to convince people of my ability and having to sway a whole class to like me, to listen to me, to learn from me, being in a completely different atmosphere, different part of the world, not being able to kind of relax into the things I'm used to and learning a new culture. It was such a big shock and such a learning opportunity. And I developed and changed so much in that time. And I developed skills such as organization, lesson planning, communication, non-verbal cues as well. Smiling to a class means so much. Hugging a child when she comes in, it means so much when they haven't got the words to express their problems or their difficulties. just for them to know that I'm a positive force, you know, I'm here to help, whether that's communicated in words or not. You know, that's my goal, that's my challenge. And so from then, I always wanted to take up opportunities, whether I believe I can do them or not. For me, it's not about, if I do this, then I'll achieve that, and then this will happen. It's, let me try, let me learn, let me fail, and let me retry again. So then the year following, I was more confident and I applied to work in a law firm in China. And my whole cohort, they said, I think this is what you were saying, Casey, the girls in college, they didn't have the confidence. They said, oh, you know, Latino girls aren't going to get in. Maybe one, you know, maybe that's a diversity hire. But for me, I thought, let me apply, because you don't know until you apply. I applied and I got it. And then I went and I lived in China for a few months. I was working in a law firm. Again, I was the only Black person in the office. And this was one of those tall skyscrapers, you know, floors and floors and floors and floors of just Asian people, a few European people, a few people maybe came over from Hong Kong or came over from Europe or the States. But I didn't see any Black people. I did not see any Black women, especially of my age. So again, I was in a space that, is not full of us. And that makes you have to be a leader. You have to develop your own way, you know, create your own relationships with your colleagues. And again, I would hear, oh, you know, I had a different idea of what Black people are. You've opened my eyes. I'm like, okay, I hope it's a good thing. They're very open and abrupt.
Girl.
I think British culture, we're very, you know, we say things in a certain way, very polite.
Oh.
And I was hit with, you know, actually, you're quite beautiful for a Black girl. You know, actually, yeah, you know, I didn't. You came on time. Oh, you came on time to work. I'm like, yes, I came on time to work. I'm a professional. So me kind of breaking down these stereotypes and also realizing how deeply the stereotypes are really felt and how comfortable people are to stay amongst themselves. So, you know, those barriers, am I going to get hired? Am I going to get employed? It's based on something real, because there are these misconceptions that are even sometimes, you know, backed up by our behavior. So I felt very aware everything I do is going to be taken as, this is how Black women are. If Victoria does this today, it's because that's how they are. So I had to lead and be kind of the best version of myself in order to uphold a better image of this, you know, what I'm representing, apparently, as I'm the only person there that they have, they're able to get a feel from. So like I said, I wouldn't consider them tools, but having gone through these experiences, they have strengthened my ability to be a leader, strengthened my self-awareness, because when you're leading, people are looking up to you. You need to know how you're coming across. You need to know, you know, what people may think of you and how to, you know, challenge that, how to change that, and how to improve it. And then back in the UK, after all these experiences, I really wanted other young girls, Black girls, to have, if they want these experiences or the experiences that they choose. So I do mentoring for young girls here in London to help them either get into university if that's what they choose, or to go into vocational work. We have lots of apprenticeships. The government are backing apprenticeships here in the UK. It's like a change in the industry. And I was even unaware. I'm working in a bank and all these, you know, teenagers are turning up. And I'm like, oh, okay, how, you know, does your dad work in this department, or what's going on? And it's just an apprenticeship. But in schools, my school, we weren't told about this. You know, we're not given that support. You can apply if you don't have great grades. That's the aim, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for potential, not grades. And young girls have this misconception that, you know, they're not good enough or they can't do it. And if they see me there, sometimes they assume, oh, she must, you know, have been born rich, or she's just lucky, or, but that's not the case. That's not the case. I wasn't born rich. Yes, I think I was lucky, but that's because I'm taking the opportunity, not because I think I'm going to get it, but just to do it. And I want them to have that, you know, ambition and that hope as well. So I think hope is something that leaders need to inspire in other people. And hope is what makes you fill in the application form. It's what makes you, sign the CV. It's what makes you look for the role. If you don't know it exists, you're not going to apply. If you find it but you don't think it's for you, you're not going to apply. And years go on, other people have progressed, and you're in the same position. So yeah, I think making the opportunities that come my way into tools, into chances to reach out to others, to develop myself as a leader, to put myself in positions where people can see me, talk to me, and ask me, how can I do the same? Those have been very important ways that I want to lead and want to demonstrate what other people can do, not just Black girls, but anyone who wants to do similar things to me. And yeah, that's kind of what led me into this now board member position I have at the charity. It's what led me into pageantry, because pageantry reaches a lot more people than me being a mentor to a few girls at work. Pageantry puts me on a larger stage, and I can also connect through the other girls I'm competing with. It's competition, but really we're together for days on days rehearsing and doing this and doing that. It's a wonderful chance for our voices to mix and to grow. So I think, June, you said this, and I love this. We need to collaborate, not network. So network, we're all together. Hi, oh yeah, give me your business card back in the day, or give me your LinkedIn, and then we'll leave it at that. But it's true, I want a village. I do really want a village. Whenever I find someone in my workplace who is a good leader, I connect. I connect, and I copy, and I follow, and I kind of emulate. And yeah, I think that's definitely something that if you can challenge yourself to be in a position that you don't feel you belong in, then you develop so many tools to be a leader. If you find people in spaces who are so rare, but you can connect with, utilize them as your tool in order to develop your leadership skills. Because that's the way I did it, and that's what I found useful. And that's what I aim to keep doing in my career, in my own business, in my life. And they've all been very useful to developing who I am today. Yeah.
Beautiful. Your voice is so important, and I'm happy that you are seeking out platforms that give you a wider audience. One thing that I think a myth that you debunked just now is that leaders aren't necessarily the ones who win everything they try. They're the ones who try and fail and try again. Like that is so powerful. Leaders are the ones that try and fail and try again. And if I reflect on my own life, like if I was afraid that I wasn't gonna get it, I crushed some things, but I knew I was gonna crush it, right? I strayed away from the things that might result in failure, always, right? And then entrepreneurship came, and it's like, you take L's every day, right? So thank you so much for that. And I love that you've done so much to put yourself in uncomfortable positions. And I'm not talking about going to a white man's world and working there. Cool, right? But that's something we have to do a lot of times. You went to China, you went to Thailand, like you didn't limit yourself to what they said is professional enough or good enough, right? And I think that's a gem for a lot of people to cleave to. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Can I applaud Victoria?
Please.
Let me applaud you, because I heard you say something. You said, you tried something, whether you thought you could do it or not, right? And that really falls in the area of bravery, because look, that is something that as a leader in your arena, you have to push past some of these fears, right? And so that just struck me when you said that, and I thought, she's a brave girl, okay? So I just wanted to applaud you. I enjoyed what you said, but that's major, right? To go ahead and step out and contribute whether you can do it or not. You don't know if you could not have, right? So you're a brave girl, and I applaud you.
Thank you, Jean.
Yeah, you definitely are, Victoria. Beautiful. So Toya, my sister girl, moving over to you, who or what defined what leadership should look like for you? And has your framework changed at all over the years?
It definitely has. I grew up always knowing that I was a leader in some sort of capacity. When I was in middle school, I was a part of this program where in 8th grade, we would basically pair up with 6th grade girls, kind of give them the lay of the middle school land, because we all know, middle school it's a lot. It's a lot of chemicals like pumping through our bodies for hormones and, just getting acquainted with maturing and all those things. So I started there and, really connected with the girls who came through that program. Even when I was in high school, I went to South Carolina Governor's School for Science and Mathematics, which is a residential high school. And as a senior, I was a part of this program called Natural Helpers, where we would essentially help the incoming juniors get acclimated to residential school life and all those sort of things. So after graduation at USC, where Casey and I attended school together, I joined General Electric's Operations Management Leadership Program. It just seemed like a natural next step for me, given my skill sets, given, what I had studied for 4 years and going into, I knew that I wanted to still step into a leadership role. And I think one of the biggest things that I learned through that process and through that program was the skill of resilience and starting over and having to jump right into something, not really having all of the information or tools or anything, but you still just got to figure out how to make it work. It was a 2-year program with 4 6-month rotations, and we'd go into these different roles, leading teams, people who have been in their professions 20 plus years. They know way more than we do. And yet we are being, positioned or given this opportunity to lead, and we're being tested. Really, that's what we're being doing. We're being tested to see how we perform in these situations. And I would say the biggest thing that I learned from that is that leadership isn't necessarily the accumulation of your skills or your expertise and knowledge in certain things. It really is about application and embodiment, which is what I do now with my clients and my students. It's about self-awareness. You go into something thinking you know everything, and you're quickly going to be shown that you really don't know anything at all. So how do you come into an environment or a situation or a job role knowing, okay, I know, LaToya, you are competitive. However, in order to be competitive, you need to utilize all your resources. So when I went into those roles, I was reading the room. I was figuring out, all right, this person, they listen to this person, or nobody really, they tiptoe around how they talk to that person, or this is the go-to person if you want information or if you want to get something done. You got to read the room. Okay. So I knew that about myself, and I knew this about myself. I'm not the loudest person in the room, and I probably will never be the loudest person in the room. But even in going through my meetings with my managers, that was always their feedback. Oh, you're so quiet. We want you to speak up more. We want you to, just be out more. And I'm like, I get it. And I get that's how everybody else does it here. And this is the culture. This is the environment. However, I'm doing okay. Like, the people, they listen to me because I listen to them. They receive me because I see them not just as, okay, this is an output. They're going to get this thing done and we can ship these orders out. The quickest, they understand that LaToya is going to support them. LaToya is going to advocate for them, but she's also going to, it's a mutually beneficial relationship here. If I can help her, she'll help me. And that's exactly what I did. And so again, even coming out of that space in corporate, I take those same skills and those same experiences that I learned from into what I do today. I have clients who are in completely different industries than I am. So obviously I'm not going to know everything about what it is that they're doing and, what's always worked or what the industry standards are. They are the expert in that. But what I am the expert in is understanding how to really take stock of who you are as a person. What do you bring to the table? You know, your journey and what that contributes to your overall expertise and your authority. And how do you embody that person, or how do you embody the feeling of what you're trying to obtain? Again, when I went into my profession, I was thinking, all right, I'm gonna be making this amount of money, and my life was gonna look this way. But my approach to that was, all right, I'm just gonna do everything they tell me to do, and then I'll get there. And it was a slow churn. I'm like, I don't get it. Except for, being the loudest person in the room, because I feel like that's just not natural for me. So I can do everything else but that. But I just realized that just how it wasn't the way for me. So I realized that, okay, if this is not the way for me, what is the way? And the way is not defined for me. The way is, as Victoria said, you have to experiment, you have to play, you have to put yourself in positions where you may not know what's going to happen next, but you won't know unless you try, which is also another reason why I love the tool of human design. And it's something that I've been studying and I've been applying to myself and my own practices, as well as my clients, to really understanding what is our motivation. For some people, their motivation is, or what inspires them to action is having that gut feeling like, oh my gosh, like, yes, I absolutely can feel it with my gut. I can't explain it. I can't explain why it makes sense, but this is what I'm going to go do. But I know for me, my motivation is mental. Like it just has to make sense. And it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else, but it makes sense to me. And that's what's going to move me forward. So I will definitely say that one of the things that I found for myself, and that I encourage anyone else to do is to marry awareness with embodiment. If you are aware that who you are, the patterns that you've seen in your life, the patterns that you've seen in your work and how you express yourself, but also being willing to put yourself out there, like you said, Casey, what the things that you were going to crush it at, like there was no doubt. But even the things that you're not so sure about, and even applying yourself and just seeing like, okay, what's the universe going to bring to me if I put myself out there? You don't know. Those opportunities sometimes come just by you taking the next step. And so I've had to get uncomfortable with not knowing what's going to come next, but also just really leaning into and feeling into, if I embody the person or the feeling that I want to experience, whether it be fulfillment in my work, bringing in my soul clients, experiencing joy and happiness with my family, all these sort of things, then yeah, that's my North Star, so to speak. And I know it is a gamble. It is a gamble because you're not promised what's going to come on the other side of that. But for me, it feels so much more in alignment than what I was doing before and how I was approaching things that way.
Yeah. I think everything you said, Toya, underscores this topic, leadership development. Like, we're not talking to people who are perfect. We are not talking to people who desire to be perfect, right? We're talking about the ways that three very different people, right, with very different passions have gone about developing themselves as leaders. And I've not heard either of them say that they reach this pinnacle, right? Like Toya just talked about all the ways that she's still open, right, to meeting new people that connect with her soul or trying new things that give her fulfillment. And she's still the smartest person I know, right? Like, I think it is powerful that all three of you ladies and everybody that's listening to this are in the positions you're in, because I look forward to the day where we do not have to go through suffocating channels just to make it, right? If we can build businesses that stand, right, and refine ourselves as leaders so that we can continue calling the shots, man, like people, when they leave high school, they're gonna have a plethora of options so that they feel good as they're going through, right? I look forward to the day we're not waiting until we're 60 to be able to retire and then be a consumer, buying stuff from other people for 20 years and dying, right? Where we can pass down something to our kids, intellectual property, trademark, whatever, right? So you ladies are honestly given the keys for that, and it's not what they tell you in school, right? It's being open, like these ladies have said, and evolving. I love that. I'm so inspired from all that you ladies have shared, so thank you.
May I add something?
Please do, June, please.
Listen, yeah, LaToya, I don't know if you recognize it, but she just hit on something that was powerful. So I recognize your something you said in there about those that you get to know, how people know that you're going to advocate for them, you're going to fight for them, you're going to show up for them. That is there's a model out there for something that you're doing, and it's called relational leadership. Now, you cannot help but be successful in relational leadership. Maybe you want to look that up. It's a powerful, powerful leadership model. I'm not surprised that you're very successful in what you do. So you kind of skipped over that when you talked about that, but we're all made to be relational, and you can get people to move when you do show an interest in them, right? But I heard in what you said, it goes even beyond showing an interest in them. You talked about listening. You talked about advocating. You talked about the things you do for others. So you move yourself out of the way for others. It's a relational leadership model. And I just want you to know that the real term success, in your case, it really is success, right? Because you can't help but to be successful in that. So I want to applaud you because you stumbled on something that is a powerful way of leading. Okay, that was it.
Thank you so much, June. And that's exactly what I mean by you never know what you're going to walk into. You never know what someone may come in to articulate, like, and identify what you just said. This is what it is. And I've seen that time and time again in this work. And I think that's why it's so important for us to feel more empowered to just move in spaces like that, where you don't necessarily know what the outcome is going to be, because you don't know that there is a definition for it just yet. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we learn better when we don't know that it's defined already for us. But when you have like someone who is more experienced in a field and they can identify and recognize that's exactly what that is. And then you're like, oh, okay, cool. So thank you for sharing that, June.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you, ladies. Okay, so I have a question, or I want to assert something, and I want to hear your reaction to this. I'm trying to keep myself from being like super rogue and like we don't build our own, right? But I want to hear your reactions to this. So I believe that the environments that we operate in have a significant impact on our comfort or discomfort, even in the capacity of leader. But I think we should demand more of this if we're choosing to operate in those environments. But what are your reactions to that? Because, and kind of like Toya mentioned too, right? Like, for instance, not everyone is confrontational, right? Not everyone is an extrovert, so on and so forth, right? So what are your thoughts around this whole idea of kind of like this movement that's going on right now, where people are like, well, I'm not happy and really on this job, so I'm leaving. Like the great migration is happening right now. And you're seeing a divide where some people are saying, I'm paying you to do a job. You don't need to be happy, get it done, right? Versus the people saying, I need to feel aligned. Any thoughts from any of you on this topic?
I'll go first. So when you started that off, Casey, it reminded me of a question that I had posed myself, and I journaled about this too, because it was kind of puzzling, but also not surprising, this idea of imposter syndrome. And this past week on social media, I've seen one, I guess, I don't want to say influencer, but a thought influencer, if you will, say that imposter syndrome isn't real. Not because they don't think that the feelings of it aren't real, but that it may be so universal that it may not just be like a single thing that only happens to certain individuals. And then I've seen other people who often talk about imposter syndrome. And then I had a colleague who in a mastermind group that we're in, she talked about how she saw these people offering services who are far less qualified than where she was in her studies or her field of work, who are charging a lot more than she was. And she was like, I don't understand this. I don't get this. But like you said, whether you are on the side that you feel like it's real, or whether you feel like the side that it's not real, this does exist. You know, when we're starting out, or when I was starting out, I experienced the same thing. Like, well, I don't think somebody's going to pay me this much to do this type of work. And then you have somebody who's been doing this for 20 years and they're like, well, I'm not charging quite nearly as enough, because these people down here, not down here, but these people who are where they are in their journey, they already feel confident enough or empowered enough, or, you know, they are asking for what they feel that they deserve. And so I think it comes to a matter of I feel like we're shifting into this, this season, or this era of people really understanding what value is. And you talking about things like blockchain and NFTs, all it is it's about value. Like, what do people actually value? And so when you think about companies, like corporate companies and things like that, they value a certain type of service or skill set, or what people can bring to the table, and they place a salary with it. That's what they value this. And a lot of people are now coming to realize, you know, I actually value my mental health. I value the fact that I have this degree and these certifications and these things. So I'm valuing this a lot more than what you're valuing it at. And it's not even just that salary, that number too. It's like, what are the benefits, or what are, like you said, the environments that I am coming to work in, and demanding more, of course. So I feel like it is all about value, starting with the self, which is why I go back to self-awareness. If you know yourself, and if you know what you bring to the table, what, you know, your experiences are, and how it positions you as a more capable, or a more desirable candidate for a role, whether it's even you working for yourself as an entrepreneur. It's just based on what you value it, and there's no right or wrong.
Right.
That's the crazy thing. I know for me, when I was coming into entrepreneurship, it was so hard for me because I had to define every single thing. I had to define my own prices. I had to define my own work schedule, work hours, how people were going to communicate to me, those boundaries that I needed to set in order for me to, you know, not be answering calls at like 11 o'clock at night, or interrupting my time with my family, because these are the things that I value. And so when going back to your question about our environments and how those impact what we are willing to do or to accept, I think it comes down to value, and understanding what that value is for us, and how we express that value and communicate that value with others.
I love that. Super, super deep. Any other thoughts on that, or opposing views, or anything?
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a great question, because I know when we talk about the environment that we work in as a leader, you know, whether the external or internal, but that external environment, how it impacts our comfort or discomfort level. I think that's a discussion we should be having anyways, right? Because, you know, a lot of times we are coming to the table, we're coming into our leadership roles or positions, and we're trying to do the work, but sometimes those external situations can create anxiety, other things that definitely impacts how we operate in our individual environment. And so for example, because we want to talk where maybe some of these young entrepreneurs can understand what they're up against. You have your game together, but an external and something that could be taking place in your life could be a home situation that is impacting the environment. It can impacting you, that environment. It could be, now for us women, let's go ahead and go there. We are still challenged with, we have our stuff together, but we sometimes have our male gender things that are yet impacting us. They're not opening the doors sometimes. So I don't mean the literal door, I mean opening, they're trying to block the way. You understand? Yeah, they're trying to block the way, or they don't take us as seriously still, right? Or they are still diminishing our authority. Okay, so those are external and situations that will impact the environment, and it can sometimes bring on underlying anxieties for us, right? And that's what some of the discomfort is about. And so, yeah, we want to challenge the status quo, but before we can do that, sometimes if our external environments are causing situations for us, then I think, I've been challenged with that many times. I've had to reassess. I was ready to go, but some of the environments I was in was kind of hanging me up. And I go back to, Latoya kind of hit on it. I go back to this area of first, understand what's going on. Sometimes we're in these environments and it's confusing, and people are trying to confuse us on purpose. But you have to start with getting a good understanding of what is happening, being in self-awareness, not just for yourself, but self-awareness about the environment, right? And I think that is one of the reasons we are challenged with collaboration as females, because we've been put in a place of such discomfort. A lot of times we're just fighting to survive. Okay, a lot of times we've gotten there. Sometimes, you said it, Casey, we're the only one in the room at the table, and we're just fighting to survive ourselves. But I think, self-awareness and being aware that this does take place. Sometimes you're like, what in the world is going on, right? What's happening? So you have to become aware that these things are happening. We're not putting our heads in the sand. We have to realize other things are taking place that's causing a discomfort in our environment. And then once we are aware that this still happens, then we can learn how to tackle it. Not stop us, but how to tackle it, because we do have external things that will create havoc for the environments that we're in. So I don't know if that made sense, but it's a real thing in the world of female leadership today.
100%. And yeah, I think this is a very loaded question. I don't think there is yet a single solve for it, right? But yeah, I want to acknowledge that, because we can do our best internally, but at least again, Casey thinks that there's some stuff we deal with on the external that we put in our bag too. And I think somebody got to start sharing that load with us, right? Victoria, do you have any comments on this particular?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what both June and Latoya said. So June, you were saying we need to understand where we are in order to, for example, you said men may be making it difficult for women to take a position of leadership for whatever preconceptions they may have, or maybe they want the role themselves, or whatever the reason may be. So we need to understand what will make us comfortable, what will make it accessible, and look at the landscape and understand our landscape. And then Latoya, you were saying value, how important value is. What do you as a person, as an individual, value? And so when I put those two things together, I find in work, understanding what is my value, that's really hard. Like, what am I worth is really hard. Understanding where do I fit in the landscape is hard. So my salary, for example, I don't know if I'm being paid correctly. I talk about the pay gap and things like that, but I don't know what I should be paid. I can Google and see, okay, what are people getting paid roughly? But it's all over the place. Really, I should know, what is my colleague who has the same amount of experience, the same qualifications, you know, who's doing the same work, what is he earning? And then make an assessment, do I value myself as much as he values himself? And then you can start demanding things. I think, Casey, you were saying people are demanding better and wanting more and leaving. But if you don't have that information, if you're not aware that you're doing the same job, you know, you're earning half as much or you're earning whatever, you can't make those decisions. And then as much of a leader, as much as, you know, you're doing your work as best as you can, you're oblivious to the fact that you're not being valued as you should. This is when you're working within a company. Now, if you're working for yourself, your own business, is a whole other thing. I don't know what people are able to pay for this product. I know what it may cost me, but I don't know how I'm going to add in the value add, the VAT, or the excess of my skill, my design, my creativity. What does that cost? What do people want to pay for that? And, you know, that's a very difficult thing. I find it very hard. I'm an artist, and my business is art. I create art, I paint, I draw. It's not as if I know how much the paper and the pen costs, and that's how much I'm going to charge my clients, because that's completely devaluing everything I'm creating.
Right.
And I see artists who charge extortionate amounts. And I know I could probably paint that myself, and other artists who don't. Where do I fit in on the scale? How can I know? So I want to have that connection with people who are in the space to communicate to me, okay, you could, if you go into this market, earn this much. And I think that's possible. But it's a competitiveness, you know? People don't want to give you too much information because you may be taking their customers. But June, you said there's enough space for all. If you're selling online, how many customers are online? We're not going to be necessarily meeting the same, you know, buyer who's on the other side of the planet. If we are both at the same physical exhibition, many people come and they have different tastes. It's still worth sharing that information. But if you are in survival mode for your own salary, for your own bills, for your own family, your own kids, you know, sharing information, letting other people know your salary, things like that, people don't want to do. So you end up just continuing in this mist, in this cloud of what am I worth? Where am I? Am I doing well? Should I leave? Should I stay? So it's hard to just be a leader of your own career and your own destiny without that information. So I try to find it where I can. Again, Google, you know, different companies publish reports on salaries and, you know, how quickly people should progress. But it's still something I'm navigating, and something that, you know, I do foresee as a continued challenge. But at least I can acknowledge there is a challenge, and yeah, it should improve and be able to develop that and improve that, and that will add to my comfort in my own leadership abilities, you know, and be in a space where I know I'm being paid or I'm being appreciated to the level that I value myself.
That's beautiful. So you have something to add?
I do. I just feel like it confirms why spaces like this are so important and needed, so that we can have those conversations and be more transparent about, you know, what don't I even know? Tell me what I don't know so that I can at least start somewhere, right? And having women, especially Black women and women of color, who we recognize that, you know, these external environments that we are put in, the challenges that exist, and that we all have some of the same struggles or some of the same challenges. And realizing, as you said, Victoria, you know, if you really think about how many people there are in the world, there is absolutely no way, there's no humanly possible way that every one of us can reach all those people. So there's the idea of competition in terms of, if I succeed, then it takes away from you. That is so, it's mathematically incorrect. Like if you just do the math, the numbers, it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. So I want to, again, applaud you, Casey, for creating summits like this to where we can have these conversations. I would have so loved to been able to go to someone in when I was working in corporate to say, hey, okay, this is what they're paying me. And I know that this is probably like taboo, but how do we get to a point where it's not taboo anymore? And then we can have those conversations to in turn demand what we know, not from a place of, well, I just feel like you should just pay me more. No, okay. Well, if you actually run the numbers, you can see, look at the data and actually make some calculated decisions on, all right, here's the return that I'm providing. Some of this information we don't know in companies that are so huge, and some of the numbers can also get a little, fudged a little bit. But having spaces like this where we can be very open, not even open just about what we have the potential to earn, but how can we celebrate each other in earning more, and not just the monetary amount, but also what we gain internally, as June mentioned earlier. What do we gain internally in order to be more fulfilled and aligned in the work that we're doing? Because money is, you throw money at a problem, it doesn't necessarily fix everything. And everyone's goal in the world is not to be billionaires and things of that nature. So you really have to understand, again, goes back to value. What do we value as people as a whole, but even as a community? And I know that even coming to this conversation today, I value this transparency and this openness, so that even as I'm up leveling, I want to be able to have these conversations with women like Victoria and June and you, Casey.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I echo everything you said, Toya, everything you said, Victoria, everything you said, June. And I challenge everybody that's a part of this conversation to create it. You do not need permission. If you know that the world is inequitable today, if you know that the world is particularly challenged for Black women today, create it. Right? It does not have to be a secret what you're being paid or what you're paying your employees. I will tell you something. Facebook, I was in the Bay Area for 4 years. I lived there. Facebook, they share their salaries on IM. There's a group that exists inside of Facebook, an instant message chat. And even after raises come, they share it transparently. Why? Because they want the power to be in their hands. They want to empower each other so that when they go in those offices, they have proof that anybody can look up on HR behind the curtain and say, yeah, you're right? And any company could do that. They choose not to, so that you are not empowered. So you all are leaders. You are leading your companies. There's no reason why you can't be transparent with your employees about what you are paying them. There's no reason why you all as employees or entrepreneurs can't be transparent about what you're making. I'm telling you, like Toya alluded to just now, it is going to create more equity for us. We are building tables. They said that nobody wanted to watch a movie about Black people, and Black Panther blew numbers off the chart because scarcity is a lie, right? Our dollars spend well, right? There are so many banks that exist today in the world, in the US, in states, that I can't fit it out on 10 pages, right? Why do we think that only one Black person can have a bank or a crowdfunding? It's not true, right? That scarcity is a myth, right? So what does not exist today, and I'm speaking about this passionately, very passionately, because I want us to get to the point where we realize we don't need to ask for permission. And if the environment we're in is not giving us what we need, we can go elsewhere and get it, right? So in June's point about collaboration, you're going to come across this stuff, y'all, and it's not going to be cut and dry. You can do everything on the inside. I was talking to a person recently about a proposal to come in and shift some things in her company, and she told me how she was so incredible that venture capitalists came to her and they said, we want this, and we'll pay you millions of dollars for it, but you can't run it anymore. It's ours. That's how much value they saw, but lack of respect and value that hurt. And then she was connected to Black venture capitalists. This is a real story. And the Black men said, oh, we love this. We can't give you as much as they were gonna give you, but we'll give you a little less. But a woman can't lead this company, so we're gonna take it over. These are the conversations that are being had with her. And if we're going to collaborate and we're going to pitch and we're going to scale, right? Just know that it's gonna expose you to some external environments, right? That you can't protect yourself from your little bubble entrepreneurship, but you should be willing. And you gonna have a whole army. If I got anything to do with you, you got a whole army called Blaze on your side at the very least. Right? You have to be willing to say no and demand what you want, right? And see what they do on the other end. I bet you 7 times out of 10, you're gonna leave with your bag. Try it out and see what won't happen. But I believe we have to demand more of our environment so that the world can be a better place for our kids, because they shouldn't be saying the same things you're saying today. Because if they are, we didn't try hard enough, right? Beautiful ladies, y'all are incredible. I want to give you all a chance to close this out. Hit us with a one-liner, right? Try to drop a bar with a one-liner, maybe 2 sentences of what you would tell your younger self, if you could, about what it means to be a leader. Toya, we'll start with you.
Oh, goodness. So I feel like I have this conversation with myself every day. A lot of my own healing work is in going back to LaToya of years ago. And Casey, you know my personal story, my personal journey, even deeper than what I've shared here, and how that applies to this question. But I mean, it's you know, it will always make more sense to the more evolved you. But if I could just send little messages and share tips every single day, because I feel like that's how I learned. It has to like drill home for me sometimes. I'm a little hard-headed sometimes. But for LaToya of like younger LaToya, I would just tell you, and I'm talking to her right now, LaToya, I love you. You are incredible. And you have no idea just how powerful you are, but you need to every day learn to trust that, pour into yourself in every way that you can, and just never doubt just how much of an activator that you are. You don't see it now, but you will see it. So just keep on and trusting and knowing that you are powerful. You are amazing. And I'll end with that.
Ashe, beautiful. Victoria, I'm swinging over to you. What's a one-liner or a 2-sentence that you would say to young Victoria about what leadership means?
Yeah, to be honest, I think I can flip the switch, because I think young Victoria has a lot of advice for me, a lot of stuff that I've forgotten over the years. As life comes, you forget the creativity of being a child, the freedom, the imagination. When I was young, I wanted to be like the global leader, the world leader. So I can make education free for everyone, toys for all the kids, Christmas every day. And no more war. I kept seeing war on the news. This is all going to be gone when I grow up, so I'm going to be the world leader. And then as I grew up, I realized there's no one world leader. There are countries that are different. Maybe I'll be the Prime Minister of the UK. Then maybe I'll be this. And my dream just got smaller as life went on. And I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose like the perfect world that my younger self believed I would grow up into. And so I'm still going to keep trying to create that perfect world. If you aim for perfection, what you have is something pretty good. And pretty good is better than what we have today. So yeah, thank you, Victoria, for your advice. I will take it on board. Yeah, and I'll try not to forget everything that you stood for back in the day.
That's good. Thank you, Victoria. And June, we'll end it with you. What's a one-liner or a 2-sentencer that you would say to young June about what it will mean to be a leader?
Yeah, I would talk to the younger June for sure. I would say to the younger June, so leadership has a number of definitions, right? Just a number of definitions. But I would remind the younger June that one thing about leadership is really about having influence over other people, guiding other people, right? So the younger June, I would want her to understand what it means to be a leader is really, as I'm believing in myself, I'm not just believing in myself for myself, right? Because it's about influencing others. And the younger June did not grab hold to that understanding, right? So the younger June was probably about climbing that ladder and doing all of that. But I would say to her now, hey, it's about influencing others. It's about guiding others. So include followership in your leadership, because that's really what it means to be a leader, right? At the end of the day, you are having an impact, June, on other people's lives. And so understand that influence, understand that power that you have, understand that authority that you have, and put it in the right place. So that's what I would tell her. Really understand your legacy at the end of the day is going to be what you left others feeling like, good or bad, whether you directed them in the right way or the wrong way. So I would tell that younger June, pay attention to the influence and the direction and the guidance that you're giving to others. Thanks. Mm-hmm.
That's very beautiful. I want to thank each of you ladies. I want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts, every single person that you poured into today. You are thought leadership. You are creating space in this hour and a half. You have created space where there was none for people who identify with you. So thank you for leaving pieces of yourself with each of us today. Keep going. We're going to be rooting for you. And everyone just know that there's going to be a special offering from these ladies on a page. I'll give you information, but if you want to keep conversations going with them and following them and learning from them, right? And being their clients, we have that information for you. So thank you so much, ladies. Beautiful job. We love you. We mean it.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you so much.